Efforts to forge a deal to protect millions of so-called dreamers may have just hit a wall. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi said last month that they were optimistic they could reach a deal with President Trump on deferred action for childhood arrivals, or DACA. But yesterday, the Trump administration released its list of demands. On that list, funding for the border wall. You know, the one Mexico was going to pay for. Removing protections from children fleeing over the border, allowing local police to investigate immigration status, and limiting visas for spouses and family members. Pelosi and Schumer issued a statement saying, in part, "We told the president at our meeting that we were open to reasonable border security measures alongside the DREAM Act. But this list goes far beyond what is reasonable. This proposal fails to represent any attempt at compromise." Joining us now is Julia Ainsley, NBC News national security and justice reporter, and Maria Teresa Kumar, president and CEO of Voto Latino, and an MSNBC contributor. Julia, the Democrats say that the border wall, the funding for it was a non-starter. The White House had to have known that.
Of course they knew that going into this. Really, the way this was phrased to us was that it was a wish list, really gathered in part by Stephen Miller, Trump's senior policy advisor. We know he's a known immigration hardliner. He came from then Senator, now Attorney General Sessions' office, and has been working with a lot of outside groups to come up with these priorities, which go way beyond the point that any Democrat and even some Republicans would agree to. We're talking about changing protections for unaccompanied children who come here as immigrants, changing the way refugees are treated, and even changing the way visas are given out to people who come here legally. This would be a drastic change in the way the U.S. approaches immigration now, and it's really just not even going to bring a lot of people to the negotiation table who would have to be there to reach any kind of compromise on DACA.
A moment ago, I was talking to Phil Rucker about the NFL and what was going on with Pence, Maria, and how this could be some effort for the president to win back his base. Could this be another effort for the president to try and win back his base? Real concerns that his base is not happy with what has been going on within the White House?
I absolutely believe that the president is looking at his 67% disapproval ratings and realizes that he needs to act fast. What he did last night, Katie, and let's be clear, he did it on a Sunday night before a federal holiday so that no one can actually really respond to this appropriately. So that's, it continues to be part of his tactic. But what he just did was just make it incredibly difficult for the Republicans to come up with something. The Republicans need some sort of comprehensive immigration bill or some sort of DACA bill as much as the Democrats, because they are now in districts that are no longer just, people talk about gerrymandering, but they are no longer in districts where there aren't any DACA folks present. What Julie said is absolutely right. He is trying to, with his wish list, try to reframe what our American immigration policy looks like in very broad strokes without being thoughtful and alienating his own party in doing so.
So what do congressional Republicans do now, Julia?
I mean, at this point, they're going to have to, logically would work with the White House to try to see if this is a line in the sand or if there's some things that they might negotiate on. We heard from the White House last night that they said that all of these demands have to be included in any kind of legislation that would address DACA. But we've seen the president shift on this issue so many times before that it's hard to know if this is really his final stance or if it's just him kind of beefing up before another political fight.
So, Maria, what should Democrats be willing to concede in order to get DACA passed or protections put in place?
I think that they need to basically go behind closed doors and have strong conversations with the Republicans. This like very similar to the tax bill, to so many bills that you're going to see coming out of this administration or suggestions. It's clear that they do not know how Congress works, and so the Democrats and the Republicans are just going to have to start doing their business behind closed doors and come up with policy and send it back over. This could actually be a window for some sort of compromise. But let's be clear: when DACA was announced, saying that he was going to rescind it on October 5th, not one of those 800,000 recipients received a letter saying exactly what that was, detailing what that meant for them. And that was just because Homeland Security themselves did not know if she was going to shift between now and the day that the arbitrary date of March that the president gave. So again, everybody's kind of working around what he says, but that's why it's important for Congress to put something to paper and send it up to the office so that there could be something that there could be clear that's what they're signing.
I see that, but what should Democrats be willing to concede on? I mean, if they go behind closed doors and start talking to Republicans, what's one of the things that they can hand over to hawkish Republicans or Republicans who want stronger, not hawkish Republicans, but Republicans who want stronger borders?
Well, I think everybody wants stronger borders. I think that people could agree that we also want to know the 11 million people that are living within our borders. I think that this idea, though, that Mexico is going to pay for the wall or who's going to pay for the wall is almost a non-starter among Republicans because they know how expensive it is. So when you start talking, I mean, and this is the problem, is that his wish list is a chain of demands that encompasses chain migration. So if all of a sudden, if you're a DACA recipient, once you become a U.S. citizen or a legal resident, do you have to choose between that and your parents being deported back? I mean, these are false choices for many people.
True.
Maria Teresa Kumar. Julia, did you have something to add?
Just on the wall, I mean, if
Yeah.
we're only talking about 70 miles, which is all that's been laid out at this point, we don't know how much funding or how much mileage might get covered. That could be potentially a place where Democrats could concede, but politically, we just don't see the numbers there, and it probably wouldn't happen. But if they're going to hedge their bets, that could be a place they could look.
NBC's Julia Ainsley and Maria Teresa Kumar. Ladies, thank you very much.